Okay, it looks like we are live. Welcome everyone that's tuning in from all over the world. Welcome to another Tango Roundtable. This is a very, very special one and one I've been wanting to do for a long time, which is Age and Tango. So first things first, if you are joining us, please say hello. Please tell us where you're listening from. And I think now StreamYard has this option you have to accept if you want your, we can attach your name to your comments, but you don't have to worry about that right now. So please say hello in the comments. We would love for you to participate inside of the comments. Obviously, we have a huge community of mature women inside of Tango that are wanting to participate from the sidelines. So please do that as well. Your voices matter. Hey, Marco. So I'm really on another note too. This is probably going to be one of the last ones that I'm going to be hosting for a while. This is a nice way to have this send off. We're going to have other hosts commit to future Tango roundtables, but this is just a really, really wonderful experience to have this group of exceptional women inside of Tango who have such interesting and varied experiences in their trajectory of Tango. We have women that have been dancing for 20, 30 years. We have women that started dancing maybe in their 50s or 60s. So women that have been dancing less than a decade, and they have really unique, wonderful experiences. So the first things first, hi everyone that's tuning in, so many great people. I'm going to have everyone go down the line and say hello and introduce themselves. We'll start with Sarah.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me? Thank you, Christina, for inviting me to participate in the Tango Roundtable. I've watched many of them, and I'm honored to be here with such exceptional company. So my name is Sarah Larocca. I'm from New York City. Many people know me as the organizer, the producer of the All Night Milonga, which had a 18-year history before the pandemic shut us down. I started dancing in my late 20s, and I'm now in my mid 50s. So I've spent most of my adult life in Tango, for better or for worse. And I've done the whole range of everything that's possible to do in Tango, from being a social dancer to being a performer, a teacher, an organizer. I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, and most of what I want to share today is not necessarily my own personal experiences, but that women over the years have trusted me with their experiences, and I feel I have a unique perspective of being able to share what a lot of our sisters are struggling with in Tango.
Thank you so much. Next, we're going to have Ilona.
Hi, everyone. Saying hello from Los Angeles, California. I am someone who started dancing actually 25 years ago, and my entrance into dance was actually through salsa. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because I have an interesting perspective of also kind of comparing the experience from one dance community to the other. And over the years, I have become a teacher, so I specialize and really have tremendous passion of bringing a lot of beginners into Tango. I really love ushering people in and opening the door to this amazing experience. I also organize ongoing events, weekly, monthly, and annual event, Endless Summer Tango Marathon for 7 years, Milonga LAX for almost the same amount of time. So I have a unique experience with not only running an event and producing an event, but also seeing how the experience of learning, starting from scratch, and seeing what it's like, especially for women, and many are a little bit more mature, what it's really like, and trying to sustain that interest and passion that I actually experienced and had. So that is what I'm going to share.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ilona. Lexa, let's have you go next.
Hi, I'm Lexa from NYC. Let's see. So I started dancing. I was in my mid-30s. I'm now in my early 60s. 26 years dancing Argentine tango. I wanted to lead when I first started dancing, but I was convinced to learn to follow, which I think was a good idea. And so 2.5 years later, I started leading. I had the first lesbian milonga in New York City at the Ruby Fruit Bar, and that was fun. I'm proud of that. In 2008, I actually danced 3 times in the US Championship, and I won the stage, came in first place with Gail Madera in 2008, and 3 times in a row, once with Sarah, I came 3rd place for salon. So I'm actually really a salon dancer, but I think they would never give, it's such a kind of heterosexual situation, they would never give first prize salon to 2 women dancing, but we tried. So I think, I organized several milongas, and at a certain point, I think 2010 or 11, I decided to stop organizing milongas. I went back to school and became a psychoanalyst. And I went from dancing 6-7 nights a week to 1 to 3 nights a week. And I think that was like a really good conditioning for me to be able to deal successfully with this horrible pandemic.
Oh, thank you so much, Lexa. And I love that you were such a front runner in creating more inclusive spaces inside of the New York tango scene, and being a forerunner in expanding people's ideas of beyond the heterosexuality of tango. So thank you so much for doing that. Yolanda, let's have you go next.
Well, I kind of want to, but I want to say that I started in 2007, and I was there the night that Lexa and Gail won. That I got to see them in New York, and I go to New York because I'm very lucky that my daughter also dances. So my daughter actually got me into tango, and so I would go visit, and so I know a little bit about New York. And so I saw them win. I know Gail very well. I dance with Lexa, and she is awesome. And so she's one of my favorites when I go on Monday nights to Ensueño. So that's why I love this. I love tango because it's so big and so small at the same time. You know, when I saw the people on that, I said, I don't know Sarah, but I've been to her milonga, you know. And so, and of course I know Norris. But so I started in 2007 because my daughter started, and then I was truly a frustrated dancer my entire life. I took her daughter and watched her become a beautiful, you know, professional level ballerina with Washington Ballet. She didn't ever go professional, but she did that course. And when she was dancing, I wanted to be dancing. So frustrated my whole life, never got to be a dancer. So then she started, and I was 59, and I said to my husband, I want to dance. I don't care what dance, anything. I know you don't want to. We've been married like 30 years. Let's do something. And he said, well, let's tango like our daughter. And I was like, okay. And I would point out that we had no idea what we were getting into. And I think maybe that's a good example of ignorance is a good thing sometimes, because I had any clue how difficult we picked the most difficult dance, right? And that it would be such a journey, and that it would so change your life, you know. All of that is good. But and so we began, and to go to finish kind of quickly on that, I had the privilege of dancing with my husband for 4 years. We did crazy things. We went everywhere. Our children were not my daughter, but my 2 sons thought we were crazy. They put us in the loony category, and then he died very suddenly, like in 3 minutes, and with me and there, and my life changed. So I got to dance as a married woman, and then I got to dance as a widow. An interesting, different, or without a partner, a woman without a partner at a festival. Another interesting change. And then from there, I just bought a townhouse, decided I wanted to be in tango somehow. I didn't want to organize. I was a teacher for 31 years and organized everything. So I was like, I need that to the other people. And I decided to, I said to Cassie, I want to have tango people in my house, but I don't want to be the organizer. I don't know how to do it. There was no model for that. So I just started hosting because a lot of the organizers here in Washington, D.C., by the way, I'm in Washington, D.C., don't have an extra room. So I now have an unofficial, or have run at least for 8 years, maybe more, an unofficial tango house for social dancers and Argentine tango dancers. And that's what I do.
Wonderful, Yolanda. Thank you so much. I can't wait to hear more of your story later. Norris, let's have you speak next.
Well, nice meeting all of you. I know Sarah from New York. I know Yolanda, of course. We are in the same tango community. And well, before getting into tango, I was horrified of going on a plane after 9/11 because I needed to go to Venezuela because it's my home country, but I will go 24 hours in a train to Florida to catch a plane to Venezuela because I will not go on a plane that could be exploding in the air for whatever reason. So I was very much at home. I was married at the time. My husband died 2006, and I was kind of doing whatever I have to do. I had a boutique in your town selling linens and things, linens and embroidery things. So that's what I was doing. I was taking care of my garden and doing things around the house. And I went for a walk with my daughter one day. And always, when we are out, she says, "Mom, look at that man looking at you." Oh, really? Mom, look, my daughter is 61 years old. And she says, "Mom, look, I think that she's always making fun of me." But then at that time, it was somebody looking at me. At that, somebody turned around and say, "Hello, Norris, how are you? Norris, how are you? I don't know anybody." And I went to the car, I looked, and that was the first person I met in Washington, D.C. 43 years ago. Okay? That person invited me to go to a party which I didn't want to attend because it was in a funny place. A funny place is the most popular place in Washington, D.C. for anybody who dances tango or whatever. He's a young man who has his house and he teaches dancing. And I am very, very grateful to him and grateful as well because I learned and I saw tango for the first time and I said, even if it is the last thing I do in my life, I will learn to do that. That's the beginning of the story. And later on, that guy was preparing a trip to Dubai 3 months after I started dancing in his group to Dubai. And I say, well, Dubai, there I go. I was on the place and I have to go 14 hours on that thing. Of course, horrified. I made it to Dubai, and after that, I have been in several places, dancing all by myself, not knowing anybody. But that is a new life.
I love that tango cured your fear of flying. That is like a new one for me, right? That's a wonderful.
Totally liberated me,
Yeah.
in a way.
I can't wait to hear more about that when we talk more. I want to have we have one more person to introduce, and I'd love for Renee to speak, briefly introduce herself. Oh, you're on mute. Renee, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thanks for having me today. My name is Renee Rouget. I'm original from Buenos Aires, Argentina. My career was in show business, theater, jazz, performing in TV for many years in Argentina till I landed in New York in the early 90s. My interest in tango was always in music and lyrics. We used to listen to radio with my mother, listen to the lyrics, the story of tango, and drinking mate almost every morning. And I was introduced to tango as a dance, or I'll accept tango as a dance in the early 90s. And when I just moved to New York, and my career in the tango business started in the, I was involved in the 90s in all this way with Lexa and Sarah and the meetings that we have at Odette Bauer at her teddy bear factory. That's something we can talk about later, because we were just meeting there in the 90s thinking how we can have real Argentinians milonga instead of having milongas in dance studios, or people that were, mixing other things with tango. We wanted to have real milongas. And that was a great idea of Sarah to have the all-night milonga, in New York, like in Buenos Aires. And then I was in the tango community, and on the 2001, I produced a tango show called Dream of Tango with Cecilia Saia and Diego Di Falco, Carolina Sukarski. I have Leonardo Suarez Paz as my musical director. I remember there was not too many piano players at that time available in New York, so we have to fly this gentleman. I can't remember his name, but it will come later from Canada. And we had a 2-day show in the Baham Theater in Pittsburgh. And after that, all of a sudden, I decided to leave the community in New York. I would just go and dance in Buenos Aires and especially take classes there, till I came back into the community about 10 years ago. And I found all these new people that they thought I was the new person, but actually, I was here way before, and I just show up and I find a complete different new world in tango in New York. And I was very happy to see that tango is so generous and everybody wants to be part of it. And then 5 years ago, I decided to start organizing again, because I said I cannot leave the community anymore. I'm not moving to Buenos Aires any sooner to live there for the rest of my life. So I decided to start organizing Milonga Falucho in Brooklyn, and it's been 5 years now. So we usually always have live music. We also recite lyrics, tango lyrics in English and Spanish. And there is a website I have with John Ashburn. He's a professor who knows our culture tremendously well, Argentinian Porteña culture. And he does all the translation from scratch. And we have a website that is called What Tango Means. And my company is Ruja Tango, and that's what I'm still doing, organizing an event in New York.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Sometimes I represent artists as well. Yes, Lexa.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Lexa.
I just need to mention that Renee is a really important part of my own tango history, because when I started to lead, the men kind of accepted me because I had been in their arms for a few years, but the women looked at me like I had 3 heads. And Renee was one of them, actually. She would not dance with me, and then she would dance with me. She was the first Argentine woman to accept a tango from me, but only one. And then a year later, it was a tanda. And then 3 years later, she gave me mirada to look that she wanted to dance with me. And about 10 years later, she asked if I would teach her son to lead. So I mark my success as an Argentine tango dancer by this beautiful Argentine woman who was tough on me, but also very loving and generous.
I love you, Lexa. Argentinian women are tough. What can you do?
I love it. That's what a great story. Thank you so much. So I want to kind of kick this off. I want to, propose a question. I think for some of you, maturing inside of tango has been challenging. And for others, you may have had more either neutral experiences or positive experiences. And I would love for someone to share some of their heartfelt experiences with us. So Sarah, would you like to sort of start the dialogue around that experience, because you started when you were in your 20s, and as an organizer, well, you've been participating in Tango in a very big way from an organizer level, but also, you have your personal needs inside of Tango as well. So what was the maturation process like for you?
I think being an organizer gave me the scope to see the experience that other people were having. Maybe if I had never become an organizer, it wouldn't have been a concern of mine. And I think there's a lot in the Tango experience that there's too much emphasis put on what each individual can get out of the experience rather than what we are creating as a whole, which I've seen in other dance forms. When I came into Tango, I was in my late 20s, and really nothing prepared me for it, quite honestly. I came from a very decidedly different kind of world and background. And I was never, even when I was young and I had youth and beauty on my side, that was never something I felt comfortable with. But I did learn as a woman that I always wanted to be heard, but I didn't necessarily want to be seen and go through that whole process of being seen and judged, commodified, and consumed. I was never comfortable with that, but I realized to get to the point where people would hear me, before I could have the opportunity to be heard, I had to go through the whole process of being seen. And as a foreigner to Tango, I mean, I was going to Buenos Aires in the late 90s before a lot of foreigners were going, and I had to really figure out how to fit and adapt, and that's a whole story unto itself. But I think it's very specific to the Tango experience, in that everyone comes to it from an outsider at some point. You'll have to read the room and look at it and learn how to adapt to survive within the subculture. And then as I've gotten older, it's not so much my personal experience, but as I've matured, my friends that I made in the beginning have all matured. And as an organizer, I've met hundreds, if not thousands, of people from all over the world. And I was always concerned that Tango wasn't an inclusive environment. And from the get-go, I started the all-night milonga because at the popular milonga in New York City at the time, I was dancing with Lexa, and we were told that we made people uncomfortable and we weren't welcome to be dancing there together as two women. And then that was my inspiration to start my own milonga, where people could really have their own Tango experience outside of that like homophobic judgment. Which also says that I've always felt at odds in the world of Tango. I really never fit into it, and never necessarily wanted to. There's so many problems with it that I see. And as I've gotten older, and I've seen a lot of my female friends get older, I've seen them become invisible, and they struggle. And what I'd like people to know who go out to dance is that it's a very uninteresting way to be in the world when your concept of beauty and value is so narrow. And unfortunately, Tango, like my own experience as a young woman, Tango requires that before we can be heard, we have to be seen. And how we want to be heard in Tango is non-verbally. We want to enter into that embrace and be heard by the other person and share that experience. But unfortunately, before we can arrive at that, we have to go through being seen. And that has created this environment where women are put under pressure to conform to a very narrow idea of what is attractive to the average straight man. And it really doesn't do anybody any good, the men included, because and then women, as they age, they struggle with becoming invisible in the greater world. And tango is the perfect environment where, because we value that sharing, once we get into the embrace, we are blown away by people's experiences and what they want to transmit in a nonverbal way. And frankly, people who have lived longer have a lot to share and transmit. But if we're discounting them from the get-go of the selection process based on the visual, this narrow visual that really serves nobody, we never arrive at the point where we can hear what older people have to say. And there's nothing extraordinary about a bunch of people in their 20s being out all night dancing, but it's incredibly extraordinary that a group of people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond are out dancing late into the night.
Yeah.
This is the perfect idea of what healthy aging is.
Yes.
And so why do we shut that down when the older people in our community are the ones we should look up to as the very thing we all aspire to being?
So beautifully said, Sarah. I couldn't agree more. And I think that was one of the beautiful, we had a pre-call yesterday, and that was one of the beautiful gifts of communing with people that are not in your typical socioeconomic circle, where we tend to have very close circles in our normal lives, and that you're able to connect with people in a very real way, a very intimate way, if you're available to that, and develop deep friendships with women and men that you would have never have had the opportunity to do so in such a way before. So in some ways, it can be very humanizing. And other ways it can be very dehumanizing. So I've seen and felt both of those experiences. So thank you for highlighting that. Someone had their hand up that they wanted to speak next. Go ahead, Yolanda.
The point that she made, it was so interesting, because when I was, started, I was 59, and I was like, oh, why did I wait so long? I'm so old. I've decided now 59 is not old, girls. So, I'm old now. Right. So, Jake at Eastern Market was the teacher, and I said something that's, I should have started earlier. I'm so old. And he said the most interesting thing to me. I've always remembered it. He said, you bring so much more to the dance than a young person. And that really stuck with me. Right. And I was like,
shout out to Jake Spatz. Yay.
Yay for Jake. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So I think that what she said about what's significant is old people dancing and going out. If those of you who've been to Buenos Aires, if you've ever, probably not, because only old people go there. There was this milonga porteño sueño, porteño y sueño, or something, sueño y porteño or something. And it was that. It was all old people. I mean, I was young there in my 60s, really old, and friends, and all dressed up and out for dinner and having a good time. And I was like, oh my God, what a lovely lesson these Argentinians have to teach us about how to live and how to age, and not just sit home in front of your TV all night long, getting fat, older, So I think it's such a wonderful. The other question you had later was like, do you think tango is going to be different, or do you think it'll be harder for older people to go back? No, we're the ones that are coming back, because we lost a year. And when you lose a year and you're 74, it's way bigger a year than when you're young and 55, right? So, no, we'll be back. The old people are not going to stay home.
I love that, Yolanda. Renee, I wanted to connect the dots to you, because one of the aspects of Latin culture is, I'm going to put someone on mute. aspects of culture is like a distinct, I think, more welcoming integration of generations inside culture. I think from a typical American standpoint, there's a lot of separation between grandparents and their children, and then their grandchildren. And what I've loved about Argentine culture is like seeing children out having dinner with their parents at like 11 o'clock at night. Like I was like, oh, people don't get babysitters. Everyone kind of communes together. And I think your experiences around young people wanting to learn from milongueros and milongueras, that there's this need to have information passed down and more of a respect for elders. So I'd love for you to speak a little bit to that, to your experiences around that, or to your sort of philosophy around that.
Yeah, well, the experience in Argentina, you know, tango is a social dance. The same when the salsa is a social dance. It's the dance of the people. They create that dance for themselves. And it was the dance of the working class for many years, because they couldn't afford going anywhere else by the social class in the neighborhood. So that's where you will gather with your family to eat, to dance. And there's still a couple of places right now in Buenos Aires that are like that. It's a new one in Larocca. We'll see when they reopen. I'm going to pass the information to you. But the people goes with the family and they have a good time, and the cousins comes, and, you know, it becomes an event where people spend the Saturday night, the Sunday, you know, Sunday early milongas, and it's part of the community. So tango is much more than the dance itself. It's all the cultural frame with the lyrics, with the music, and the possibility of expressing through dancing. So getting old is not that much of a threat in Argentina. You ever seen depends what your journey was in tango. You know, you leave seeds behind, and whatever you do in life, and if you have a seed in tango, that's going to be appreciated. The phenomenon with the oldest milonguera is that although there is no more sexual tension, because that's what happened with age, there's no sexual tension in the dance floor, but that
really?
No, I'm saying as you grow older, you don't feel that sexual tension anymore. You don't feel, because you're a little more invisible, so you are free for that tension, for being wanted so much. So your skills in dancing and whatever you bring it to the table are much more appreciated. And that's where you have plant seeds in tango. You're going to be greatly appreciated later on, because you're part of the history. You can just give whatever you know and whatever you feel to a partner and to the community. And the phenomena of the oldest milonguera, especially those who are lonely, is that they go to the milonga very early. They get dressed the same way they got dressed 30 years ago, because it's something very still unique about a milonga. Time hasn't passed by. It's there always for you. So when you walk into milonga, I was saying the other day, it's like walking into a casino. You know, you don't know what time is it, and you don't know which day of the week it is. You're just there, living the moment. So they will go into the milonga. It's a ritual. It's a ceremony. It's an encounter with their culture, with their people, and they feel greatly appreciated. And they prepare themselves for this night, for this ritual. So they dress up like they did probably 20, 25 years ago, many of them, especially those that goes by themselves. They sit on the second row and they wait. They wait for their tanda. They wait 3-4 hours, you know, and when the real milonga starts for Argentina, which is at 3 a.m., when all the tourists have left, when the good tandas come, is when they get to dance even with the best leaders. And they didn't have to seduce them. They didn't have to be gracious. They didn't have to interact with them to be accepted. They were just there waiting. And that leader, that milonguero, knows that she's waiting and will give to her whatever she's there for. And that's a gracious way to, you know, to appreciate each other. And the magic is that something that we need to know, that no matter which age you are, and no matter what's your sex, follower, leaders, you always want a good tanda. And good leaders want a good tanda also. So if you keep out and you can have a journey in tango, you always get a beautiful tanda, no matter how old you are, especially in Buenos Aires.
Thank you for sharing that. Sharing that, Renee. I can see the unique difference between growing up in that world or living in that world where you really have a network of friends that exists beyond tango, and then kind of transplanting that in like America where people just go out to dance. Like there's a different narrative maybe in some cultures. Things don't get translated as well of like building community inside of the dance. It still feels like a bunch of individuals looking to get their needs met. And Ilona, I think one of the things that you've been, I would love for you to speak to some of this where you've been training, oops, I'm going to mute somebody, where you've been, one of your ideals is to sort of convey to your students this sense of community and also expectations. And I would love to hear some of your thoughts, either concerns or narratives around that.
Well, I wanted to just quickly say something as someone who came here from another culture altogether. And of course, I came here to the United States in 1979 from the former Soviet Union, right? So culturally speaking, number one, I have to say that I remember clearly the shock that I experienced as just someone who arrived. The stigma towards just old age, period, just this cultural huge difference. I was raised by a grandmother, and I consider that a gift and a blessing because I had a relationship with much older people, and I loved it so much growing up. So for me, like in general, in the Soviet Union, people lived in one apartment with grandparents, with 3 generations would share one place to live. So the whole missing out on what it's really like and how much older people in general can impart and can share, and just the richness of the experience, to me, it's a really sad loss in this culture. I feel that in general, that seeing that gap between old and young is just heartbreaking to me, period. So I came from a different background. And now as a teacher, because I really, it just happened that my life kind of led me to start teaching, and I love it so much. And when you are a teacher and an organizer, you have a different relationship with responsibility that you have, because the same students will eventually probably attend my own milongas, right? So not only from a business perspective, but like just human perspective, it is not only in my interest, but I need to usher them in the proper way so that they are, yes, the expectations are definitely addressed, because everyone walks into tango with complete, like very unrealistic expectations in general, because they don't know any better, right? However, because my own experience has been overall truly deeply transforming, positive, healing in general with the dance world, salsa and tango. I am a very passionate person who loves to utilize dance as a tool, as a healing tool, as something that can offer people, whether it's women or men, a lot of different angles of, whether it's teaching them how to communicate in a deeper, more authentic way, or connect in a different way that they have never connected, or to heal from, various types of trauma or anxiety, social anxiety, you name it, right? So when I see older women enter tango, I know I have to nurture them in a way like it's a sisterhood for me. It's like, I get it, especially now that I'm older, because I've started dancing at 33 and now I am in my mid 50s. So I've seen the transition and how the world reacts to me today, as opposed to, of course, when I started dancing. So I know what they're up against. And I always talk about expectations and energy that you bring with you. I think that we often don't talk about like what energy, what are you bringing with you into a milonga or into a space? What emotional sort of and energetic baggage sometimes that people bring with them. Sometimes you will have someone sitting around looking gorgeous, but not attracting this sort of like not welcoming, not inviting, and it's not because they don't want it. It's just that, you know, we all come into the world, especially of dance, right? That kind of amplifies our trauma. It amplifies our all kinds of issues, right? And a lot of women have issues with men. Let's be honest. A lot of us have had all kinds of experiences with men. So when we go to a milonga and we have to be in this intimate embrace where we're energetically open, I think part of it is learning how to possibly clear the slate for that time, like that energetic slate where we hold grudges, for example, against all the men in our lives that have in some way done us wrong. I'm just talking about some things that we bring with us, right? So as a life coach, I kind of am aware of it. And so when I teach my beginner classes, I don't just talk about, you know, steps and all kinds of mechanics. I sort of try to break the ice and make people feel more open and more, you know, sort of, I also believe in observing, right? So I love to sit and observe a lot, okay, which is actually great because I don't go just to dance every tanda anymore. So observing, you learn so much about the dynamic of how we relate, right? And so I talk about just, it's okay to sit and just take things in. Not only go and like, I want to dance every dance, no matter what kind of partner invites me, you know, and then get like, you know, all kinds of, you know, traumatized by some of the dances that you may get. It's more about the experience you want to create on the dance floor that's memorable, that you can take with you and that feels right. So managing these ideas of, I just want to dance nonstop, or who do I really want to dance with, and how to observe and choose your partners in a way that is honoring, self-honoring, in an energetic way as well.
Yes. Yolanda, I'll have you go next, but I wanted to kind of dovetail. Thank you so much, Ilona. These are really salient points. And I want to, as an organizer or somebody that teaches, I want to think, I want people to have a good time. And I can't, and I have some clout to change things, but a lot of the times it's about rethinking an expectation, even though or coming up with like real solutions. And Lexa, you know, you lead. So unfortunately, sometimes the power dynamic feels that leaders have the upper hand in terms of like how many dances they can have in a night. But that is a solution for women who are wanting to dance more, right? Like they want to dance more. We all come like really wanting to dance. Like for most women, we're not dancing enough. Like this is really, it's rarely that we are coming in looking for partners. We're coming in to feel beautiful and like love our bodies and like feel this pleasure of dance. And Lexa, I would love for you to talk about, well, your path into leading, but what that does that give you any kind of advantage, or how do you kind of feel about that in context of like following versus leading?
Okay, so I'm kind of old-fashioned, I guess, and also I'm older. So I think when I was younger, it was like come in, you know, I can remember being so angry with Robin Thomas, who was a DJ at Triangulo, and he would know what music was coming and he would ask the woman ahead of it, and you had no chance with her because, and it was usually Jennifer Bratt. You know, you could not get to Jennifer Bratt for Desarli because Robin already had that going on. But you saw so many people and you wanted to dance with every single one. And feel and experience. And now, you know, I could have 3 tandas in a night and feel great. And I could have more than that and not feel good because I felt maybe pressured. So here's the thing. I think ideally, when things are going really well, and this is how it's worked for me when I was only a follower and now that I'm a leader, it's a two-way street. I know when Renee wants to dance with me. And somehow she had some, and Yolanda too. They have a way, you know, of catching my eye, and it's in a good time. It is in a good time. And I always want to dance with them, but I might want to dance with them to a particular kind of music. You know, it's like when in Sueño Milonga, Gail, that's my D'Arienzo partner. I have to dance D'Arienzo with Gail, you know, and I will look for her the minute I hear the note. And I think a lot of the older people are like that. So it's not that we don't want to dance with you, but it's like, don't mess with our mojo. I mean, I have literally had women, I'm going to complain about women now. I have had a woman tap me on the shoulder while I'm in the middle of a dance asking, can I dance with you? I have come back to my table and found a woman in my seat saying, can I dance with you now? I have had somebody put their face in my face while I'm about to take a bite of steak. Can we dance now? What the hell? Like, just have some sensitivity, some social manners. I've also tried to catch the eyes of some beautiful women, old, young. They're looking at the floor, sitting against the wall and looking at the floor. What the hell is that? Wake up with your eyes. By the way, right now, Norris, I feel like you're looking at me, and I don't know that we've ever danced, but I would love to dance with you. I just know from looking at you that you are such a beautiful dancer. I hope one day that we can dance together. So I just want to stress that I feel that women are empowered. There is cabeceo and mirada. There is looking and there is the cocking of the head, you know, and when we use this and we're active with it, nobody's feelings gets hurt. And I think that everybody can dance as much as they wish.
I want to have Sarah, and I want to have everyone kind of like make one round, and then we can kind of go. So Norris, Norris, do you feel like you want to add anything so far? Norris, would you want to add any points?
Oh yes, of course. I do because I am beginning to dance a lot recently, because you know, I don't know, but I have to say, you people talk about being old. I am 78 years old, and I only began dancing tango 8 years ago. So you can just imagine, I used to go to classes 2 or 3 times a week private, because my right feet do not listen to the left. So if he talks, you move your right feet, I will move the left. So I am always confused. So I have to take privates, and that's what I did. But I began going every single night, wherever it was, a tango, a milonga. And then the traveling, and I'm going now to talk about the difference of dancing in the United States when you are after certain age, and listening outside. When you go to a milonga in, let's say, Istanbul, and Yolanda knows that because we have been there together, as soon as you walk into a milonga, more than 3 or 4 persons approach you, shall we dance? Is that true, Yolanda? Okay. All right. She is in mute.
But
okay.
Looks at her. So 3 or 4 immediately. I had to work for mine, but she's right. She's telling the truth.
Well, I am telling the truth because it's the truth. And then happens that, you know, you go to different places and you see people dancing. I don't pay attention anymore to who is not dancing with me or who is dancing with me, because I know that the woman in tango have 3 different ages. When you are from 20 to 35, 40, maybe you don't know which one is your right foot or your left foot, but you get invited to every single song it is, and the gentleman tell you, I help you. Okay? I help you. Uh-huh. Then when you are after 40 to 55, they expect you to know how to dance, and everybody invites you because you are pretty, you have a beautiful figure, and you are already dancing well. Okay? But when you are after 65, you can be sure that it's not going to be dancing all night long for you. You have to wait until somebody, and I am happy to say that most of the tango dancers, girls, young girls, are my very good friends. They sit next to me. I travel alone a lot, but I travel with young girls from tango, young that can be my great granddaughters. I have a great grandson that is 18. So, I really appreciate the young people being so friendly and travel out of the country with very young people. So, we change experiences, we go places during the day, you go wherever. I like shopping. But I go with my friends at night. We go out every single night. So when I go dancing, if I don't get invited to dance, that's my opportunity for seeing beautiful shoes, beautiful dresses, wonderful figures. And I enjoy dancing. If they don't dance with me, they don't dance with me. I couldn't care. I would love to have good tandas, but if I don't, I just don't. Recently, I am dancing a lot more than I used to. But maybe now I know what I am doing. Now maybe I know what they are doing, what I am doing.
Norris, I love your attitude, your positive attitude around that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think Sarah wants to say something. Yes, please, Sarah.
It's fantastic that you're having great experiences with tango at any age, but I would like to represent the voice of the women who are not, because this is a significant problem in our community, and it only serves to like frustrate a lot of people. We have to do better. It really is a serious problem. It's like an epidemic. And
Sarah, can I ask a question? Do you think, like in one of the, I think the obvious problems is that there's way more women in tango than men. Like the imbalance makes it an imbalance. Do you agree, or I'm curious how you think about that?
Yeah, there's an imbalance, but I think also if we want to speak about the energy trajectory, what ends up happening is that women consistently have negative experiences and they lose their confidence. And so when you say they're looking at the floor, they're looking at their phone, it's kind of because they've been beaten down by being invisible or rejected so much. So I don't think it's really helpful to just tell women, oh, you have to do the mirada or the cabeceo is there for you. Yes, it's there for you, but that doesn't mean they get invited anymore. And I would like to go beyond that and ask people to view the community in a more holistic way about how we can all have a good time and how we can all see each other and how, well, frankly, we can just not be so gosh darn shallow. And I have other experiences in my life where, I'm 55 and I have very close friends who are in their 20s, and they don't make me feel old. When I go to tango, it makes me feel bad about myself. Frankly, it makes me feel bad about myself as a woman, and I'm not alone in that. I am here to represent the voice of thousands of women who have been made to feel bad about themselves in tango. And it's lovely that people don't have that experience, But the fact is, a lot of them do. And if we don't address it, we're losing really wonderful people from our community. We're losing women who are intelligent and inspiring and vivacious and worth knowing and worth having in our community. So what are we going to do about it? Okay, seriously, it's a problem. What are we going to do about it?
Did somebody want to have their hand up? I didn't. Go ahead, Ilona. And then Renee, you can go next.
So I, as someone, again, who came from a culture where people partied and danced, they didn't know how to dance, but they all got together, they drank. I happen to be one of those that don't know what's wrong with me, but I know how to party. So my thing is, like, we're talking about how to make things feel different. This is something that has worked for me personally. So as I started organizing events, I started making them feel like a house party. Like where you can eat, when you can hang out, when there's a space you can actually socialize, where you can actually get to know people. Because for me, I know that Sarah was talking about the fact that you have to be seen. And to me, just seeing what you're seeing, because we're all consumers of beautiful things, you know? And I mean, I know that we talk about men being like always drawn to what looks the youngest, the prettiest, whatever, miniskirt, legs, we talk about this visual consumerism, right? I mean, let's be honest, we all like, aesthetics. We appreciate things that aesthetically are pleasing, right? So it's not so much just that, but I think that because we don't talk in Tango, we only connect on this, nonverbal communication level. At least that's what Tango is known for. I think we're also missing out on getting to know people a little bit more and finding out what's behind the facade or whatever that is. Sometimes you will discover that behind a beautiful facade, there's like nothing there to explore. I mean, sometimes it's just a facade, right? And sometimes you connect with someone you would never speak to unless you just got a chance to somehow sit next to them and talk about something, and you're like blown away by the human that's next to you. I mean, in Tango community, we're so blessed to have such an amazing, rich, diverse, cultural, and like in every way, like this microcosm of the world that's like in one room, that not exploring it ever. I mean, I'm not talking about that every milonga should be that way, but we don't have enough, social kind of interaction, like where where I do my milonga at the beach, where it's no longer about, how perfectly you dance on the sand, because God knows none of us can really dance on the sand. But people have such an amazing time, they're outside of their typical milonga box. And I'm not saying that it's a real milonga. It's a party with everybody's hanging out and we're having music and people are dancing a lot, but they're also hanging out, right? So I've done some really like outside of the box events, like flash mob, where we just travel from place to place and dance around LA. That's part of my, Tango marathon event, or wherever I find locations that allow me to have a space where people can just also sit and just chat and step away from the dance floor for a moment and just eat some food. I'm a big believer in food, you guys. I think eating makes people happy, okay? So even if you're not dancing and you can have a really wonderful time connecting with people, it will make you feel better because you went somewhere, you dressed up, and maybe you didn't dance as much, but at least you got some really wonderful quality conversations or exchanges. Anyway, that has been my formula and it has worked for me. So I'm just sort of sharing that that's one way.
It has worked for me.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Ilona. Renee, I'll have you speak next. And I just want to honor everyone's lived experience inside of Tango, if it's been, net positive or net negative. I really value everyone's experience, and Sarah and Ilona both make excellent points. And I think in the end, the solutioning is not about being more pleasing as a woman, right? That's not the solutioning we're trying to do, but like, how do we get people connected more from just a human level, and building the bridge through like just less emphasis on the dance and more emphasis on like connection as a whole. So thank you so much. Renee, please continue.
I was going to add something to what Ilona brought up. So thank you, Ilona, for doing that. My events are surrounded by cultural elements, are not only about dancing. I have live music each time, sometimes performance, and I do it around dinner. Is usually it's in a restaurant. So when I did it in Chelsea or right now in Brooklyn, where I'm going to still continue, like for example, right now I have Sidewalk Falucho. It's a dinner show, of course, in the sidewalk, as the name said. And we have live music, we have a show, and people get to socialize and live all the elements of tango. And what I do incorporate, well, I'm not doing it right now, but I'm going to bring it back, is the translation of tango in English and Spanish, the recited of tango in English and Spanish. So that brings all the elements of the culture, of the Buenos Aires culture, into one event. And I have had people sitting, having a good time all night, just enjoying dinner and getting to know each other. And also the restaurant in Brooklyn, Café Argentino, has Argentinian food. So you have all these elements of culture that not necessarily are relating to dancing. And the way people connect is unbelievable. It brings them up together in a complete different way. So many people said, I feel like I'm being in Buenos Aires right now. And to me, that's the most important thing. Tango is not only dancing. And then, and even if you're not interested in knowing more beyond the dancing, just by leaving those elements, you will transform your dance. I'm pretty sure it will. The same way that translating, reciting English and Spanish also transform the way you dance, because now you understand what you're dancing to besides the music. And my goal is not only bring all the elements, but doing so is that people start understanding what their real motivation is for tango. What are you there for exactly? Is because I see people dancing. I mean, like Lexa brought up, I see women harassing leaders to dance. So is that your anxiety, your urgency? If you don't get that tanda with that particular leader, what's going to happen to you? Is that going to be the end of the world, or is something else that you can take from this event? Even if you didn't get to dance with that leader, you might get to dance to somebody else. So it's also about, what people need to discover their own motivations too. Because, the thing is, sometimes I go to milongas, and, one of the elements, the milongas, you are exposed. It's a big stage. And if you go there, you must know that you're going to be watched, and you should not be intimidated by being watched. It's part of what you're there for. You be exposed. So you have to make sure you understand that element of the milonga. And when we watch people's behaviors and how they act, we have our own line of thoughts. And sometimes I'm watching certain people, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I'm wondering, what are they dancing tango? What do they think they're doing? Not being judgmental about the way they're doing it, but trying to understand, when I see their body language, what are they there for? And it's something, it's not to me to answer that, but it's to every one of them to understand what their journey in tango is going to be.
I just want to quickly add, one of the ways I live my life to keep myself alive, I always will tell myself, something wonderful could happen tomorrow. You could turn a corner and something wonderful will happen. And that keeps me living and going on. And I also bring that into the milonga, because believe me, I've had the shittiest of nights, especially in the beginning. You don't get dances, you get terrible dances, you get rejected. But I always come home and it was a bad night, but maybe tomorrow will be better. And for me, if you ask, how can we change this culture, the environment? Another thing that I notice about myself is that I notice, I'm always coming with these expectations, and their expectation that this one will dance with me and that one will dance with me, and it doesn't happen, and I'm crushed. And I thought, what's with the expectations? Just come, and not only just come, bring something in. You come in and you're looking always for something. What if you come and you bring something in with you? And this changed my life, and it changed my experience in the Milonga. And I offer that to everyone as a way that maybe we can make a change.
That's true.
Thank you. Yolanda, you had your hand. Thank you so much, Lexa and Renee. I can really appreciate those points of it's really easy to be disappointed when you're very hungry for something, that if you're looking for validation or something like that, those that should be more self-sourced. I'm not discounting women that are feeling upset around being invisible. That's a very different thing. But I can honor these positions of unreasonable expectations. I can honor those. So thank you for speaking to those kind of things. Yolanda, you had your hand up earlier, and I didn't come back to you. I apologize.
We don't hear.
Okay, there were several things that several people said that I really were right on, or as far as I'm concerned, and one of them is the attitude you bring, the attitude, and I very learned no expectations for this night. You know, you're going to go to the prom, and the expectations are so high in that prom, that dance when you're a teenager, it never meets your expectations. So no expectations. I'm just going to go. But it's also your positive. You got to get as you get yourself dressed up to be lovely, to feel lovely, you need to get your attitude in the right place, right?
Absolutely.
And if you bring a positive attitude, you're not going to dance every dance. I'm going to dance every dance. I have been rejected any number of times. But you know what? You got to not take it personally. You say, there's nothing really actually wrong with me. It's that person. Let them have the problem, right? So one of the times when I was young and a young dancer, I'll say that, young in experience, I took a beautiful lesson with Cecilia Gonzalez, right? And so she's a wonderful teacher. She would come here and she said, what do you want to, but the same, they all say, what do you want to work on? And I was I even hate admitting this, but it's true. What do you want to work on? Oh, I don't know. Dance with me. Fix something so that the men will want to dance with me, right? And she goes, oh, she's pretty much of a feminist. She was like, oh no. And this is all in Spanish. It was even better in Spanish. Oh, no. You don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. I go, I don't? Well, then tell me where I want to go. Where do I want to go? And she goes, you want to love your dance so much. You want to do it so well that you love it. And if you love your dance, the men will love dancing with you.
Absolutely.
It was a paradigm shift for me. I then changed my whole attitude about tango. So that kind of went with when I first started dancing. I remember these are DC tango history people, but Anne-Sophie and Kelly were running the first festivals here. And I was at the first festival I'd ever been to. And of course, I'm not dancing, right? And I said to them in the bathroom, so how do you get the men to dance with you, right? And they didn't tell me. They walked all around it. They did all these kind of things, And so when young people ask me, when the young women come to me, and I get asked a lot because I am one of the senior dancers here and dance a lot. And I go, look, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you what people didn't tell me. You got to earn it. It's not enough to come to be dressed up, to be beautiful, to be young. You got to earn that dance. And then if you earn it and you love it and you love what you do, you will get your dances. You will get your dances, And the other one on the cabeceo thing is you aren't women. I went so many times with my daughter to Buenos Aires and she'd say, Mom, you're missing the cabeceos. And I'm going, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's shaking his head. I said, you are missing many, many, many. Finally, somewhere I stayed 1 month. I said, I have one goal. I am going to leave this town. I am going to have figured out how to do this shit because every man does it differently. There's, And so finally I did. When I came back, I got accused of having, you are active. You are not sitting there like a flower waiting for these stupid guys to look at you and say, oh, I want to dance with you. You are aggressive. You are there, present. You are positive, and you radiate that at them. And you look at them and you say, I want to dance with you. And you think to yourself, and if you don't want to dance with me, you're a jerk, because you're going to miss something good. You don't say that to them, clearly, But it's so attitude. We're not so passive as we might interpret this thing. And so having kind of learned all of those things, it changes. And I build community here. I invite people over to my house for dinner. I always go to the milonga, and I always make it a point, no matter what, to dance with one person that I don't know. And I get my cup of sale. I look at them until they get, come over and ask me to dance, right? And that's how you have to build a community, one person at a time. That's how you build community, and you have to be friends with, you have to embrace these people, and then it sort of all works, but sitting back feeling sorry for yourself because they didn't ask you to dance is not productive. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
Mic drop for Yolanda.
Been there, started late.
I know that I say this from a place of privilege, and I think that because I started dancing when I was mid-20s, and now I'm moved into past the 40 threshold, and I have this space of holding, like, seeing the youth, like being in this middle point of like, oh, this is my future and that was my past, and I'm excited for the future of moving into tango and changing my relationship to tango, and seeing examples of women inside of tango that I admire, and like to Sarah's original point, like being thrilled with the idea that I can be relevant, and like that older people are dancing and are vibrant and they're alive, and like that's a model for me to feel excited about. And I feel now for me, tango is very much a social networking thing, and the dance becomes a byproduct of just really enjoying my socialization inside of that. But I say that with somebody who has still a lot of choice in tango, right? Like I know that it also plays a role in why I feel very comfortable only dancing one tanda a night, because it's clearly of my choice still. So I don't know if anybody wants to sort of elaborate on some of their experiences or their points, but I'll let you guys flow with it. Go ahead, Ilona.
I can easily reflect on my experiences, but I always thought, that because a lot of people in my community know me for many years and this and that, I will never get to a point where I will feel, for example, what Sarah was talking about, I would never feel invisible. I heard a lot of women complain, right, about sitting out and the age and this, but I do have to say that I finally got to the point where I have had plenty of moments where I'm going, is this really happening to me now? I mean, there's no way, like, right? Because I mean, everybody knows me in the community, everybody who knows that I can dance and all of that. So I've proven myself and all of that, right? And established myself. It doesn't matter. I do have to say that we do have an issue. We talked about a lot of wonderful, positive things here. And yes, there's a lot of things we can do on a personal level and also as organizers and maybe also as teachers. But the problem does exist. We do have this ingrained thing about the fact that older women do slowly become less visible. I'm not going to say invisible, because again, if we project a lot of energy and we're really engaged, we bring that really live energy with us, it's hard to ignore us, right? But there is definitely a trend in that direction, and it doesn't matter who you are, even if you are a really loud and visible person and everybody seems to like you and this and that, whatever, it happens even to those. So, but I want to say one thing that I thought, talking about specifics, so what we can also do is that we really should attempt, or at least organizers and people who teach, attempt to discourage this cliqueness of, let's say when you have milongas and you have only young people sitting together in this one club location, there's something that creates that gap, and these are just simple things that we can really look into in how we see people, how we mix them, how we create opportunities for people to connect that maybe wouldn't connect otherwise, for example. So this is just something that came to me because I've been in many wonderful milongas, and I have seen how people gravitate, obviously, to sit next to the only, people they know or they like, or they're like them, age-wise, color-wise, you name it, right? We talk about all kinds of prejudices here, right? Age is just another prejudice that so many people have. And we got to create opportunities where all of this gets really mixed into the fabric in a way where we get to know each other. Because I have to tell you that some of the biggest surprises I have experienced, and also my partners, is when I'm invited to dance with someone who is half my age, and all of a sudden their light, their eyes like open big and go like, like, damn, you can dance, I mean, they discovered, they're surprised. How will they ever do it if they don't like step out of their comfort zone, or that I don't make myself available, And I also have to admit that there have been times in my life where I looked around the room and I see someone super young and I go like, yeah, I'm not even looking in that direction because that's not going to happen. So I am cutting that opportunity even in my head, out of happening. So we all have to kind of check our, perceptions and, our beliefs about those other people, the younger people, the older people, you name it. So I do have to say that, Sarah, you brought tremendous, very important point about ageism, and especially towards women. It exists. It's there. Even if we want to bring a lot of positive around it, it still is there. So we got to deal with it. We can't just,
Yeah. The idea of invisibility or less visibility is still, we're talking about the visibility in the context of men seeing us, right? And so that we're talking,
of course,
typically like from a heterosexual standpoint, right? And there's other, if that's our narrative, then maybe that narrative also needs to change too, which is, okay, well, if I want to dance more, am I stuck in the follower role? Like, do I get to experience another? If I want to dance more, could I lead, or could I accept leads from women? Like, what are the narratives that I need to disentangle so that there's more opportunities, right? And I can't speak. Lexa might know the queer tango space more, even though you told me yesterday you dance mostly in like traditional places, but. Queer tango spaces typically it's less obviously around the sexuality. Like, and you can help if I'm saying this wrong, please correct me. But like, queer is the invitation to sort of dance whatever role, no matter your sexuality or your orientation, and that liberates people a lot in terms of who is available, who is a viable dance partner for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if someone can jump in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think that it's a lot of these issues, although ageism, it might be something that even in the queer community, that there are issues with. I mean, I really, to solve this, I would want to talk about education, because when I was first brought in, I remember there was such an emphasis on the old milongueros. And I kept asking, what about the old milongueras? What about the old ladies dancing? And they're, oh yeah, them, but the men, and like one of my early experiences when I said I want to lead was being able to study with Esther Puglisi. And at that time, her son, Pablo, he was a hot shot, but she used to teach with him. And she said, come here, I want to show you some things. And she could back lead like nobody's business, and made me feel like, whoa, oh, I see, this is how I do it, and I mean, her and also Nita and Elba, like Elba spent a lot of time working with me. And, you know, these were ladies who were older than me, and I would consider them, you know, old milongueras. I mean, neither of them are here, I don't believe anymore. But, you know, and I remember seeing Carmencita Calderon when she was 100 years old. She danced in the milonga with a young guy, and it was so exciting. And I couldn't wait to go to Buenos Aires to dance with all these old guys. And when I went, by the way, the first time, the only women that would dance with me were under 25 and over 55. The middle chunk were like, I don't want anyone to think I'm queer, not going near that lady. But, you know, the really young, really older, they don't care what people think. They wanted to experience dancing with me. And it was really amazing. So the point, I guess, is I wonder what's happening with the education. These young people coming in, are they being told, you know, wow, wait till you experience dancing with one of the older dancers? Are they being told?
Yeah. I love that, Lexa. Renee, you wanted to speak next.
Mute. Okay, I know. I just wanted to add something to what I say before. The idea of walking into a milonga with no expectations and just be ready for the experience. So what I was saying before is I wonder what the motivation is. I was referring as the subject of, if you expect to dance with every great leader and dance every time that is playing, that's an unrealistic expectation. So you will always be disappointed. So it depends on also your motivation, is your expectation and the end result. So being just open to the experience, I have other elements in the milonga, like friendship or cultural elements like music or enjoying a dinner, a drink, and then eventually dance a good tanda, because it reach a point, and that's the advantage of growing older. You don't want to dance every tanda. You want to have that 3 tandas that are going to make your night. And personally, I mean, this is my personal experiences. I have 3 great tandas and enjoy all the other cultural elements. I'm completely happy. And I agree with Yolanda, what she said, that we need to engage. We need to be there. We need to be available. We need to make them excited, not necessarily by asking them to dance, but just make sure we are present. So.
Also, Renee, what you're saying, though, may have to do more with being older in the dance than your actual chronological age. Because we're hearing from Nora, she likes to dance all night, but she hasn't, and Yolanda too, but they haven't been dancing 25 years.
Right. Of course. It has to be with your journey in tango as well. Exactly.
Well.
Yeah, I don't want to dance every dance. I did before. But I want to dance most of them because I don't have, it's time. See, when you're 14 years and we lost one, we lost this year, right? So 13 years then of dancing, and I still have a lot of dancing to do. So I think a lot of that depends on who you are. I mean, why are you even going to that milonga? Why did you even pick that? I just really want to dance. I just need to move my body. And when I move my body, I'm really, really happy, So I like all the other social part too, but I laugh because here in town, I've kind of given my own title. I tell everybody I'm Tango Mom. We're in DC. We have an intergenerational group of young people, many of which are not from here and don't have their families close by. So since I was a teacher, I was everybody's mother forever. I'm everybody's mother. So I walk in and I'm Tango Mom. And if I do a lot of counseling, more than I want to, I go to dance, but I don't, but the young people have problems. They talk to me, they call me, they come over, So I think that you build that community. That's why I get to dance maybe a little bit more. I also get to dance because I bring a lot of nice teachers with me, So you have to figure out what's on your agenda, what you want, and then ways, especially as an older woman, ways to get in there and get to do what you want to do. And I don't go to a milonga without someone coming up and reminding me how old I am. They don't mean to. They're younger. And so they go, you know, I just really want to be like you. And then they don't.
When I grow old.
When I'm old, I just really want to be like you, you know. And I'm like, God, another person telling me I'm old. Okay, I accept it, you know. And I accept all of a sudden this. I didn't sign up for this job that I have, which is inspiring older people that life is not over. You know, get dressed, travel, go with Norris to Turkey, go dance with Martina Maurizio all over the world, go to Argentina, do it, live it, because that's all we have. You know, so give and enjoy. You know, so it's just I think so much is in your attitude.
Go
I'm
ahead,
done.
Sarah. Go ahead, Sarah.
I would just like to put forward as a solution, if we look back on the last year, what have we learned in the last year, not just through the pandemic, but with the entire social justice movement that really exploded with the murder of George Floyd? And it really caused people who are not African American or people who don't live in fear of the police to stand back and go, wow, a significant amount of people live in fear of the police. How can I be an ally so that doesn't happen? What can I do to have empathy? What is my role in making society better for everyone? It's not saying, oh, well, if Black people acted like white people, the police wouldn't kill them. That's not the approach to societal problems. And ageism, sexism, and misogyny are deeply rooted societal problems. And to me, I see the solution is to call upon everybody to act with more empathy about what the other people around us are dealing with. And yes, I agree about the positive attitude and all of that, but you have to understand that people are toiling under deep systemic biases that their pretty dress and their pretty smile and their positive energy can't overcome. And if we haven't learned anything from the struggle of so many other people, then I don't know what hope there is for us as a species. Because if we can't learn from the struggles of others, then the people who are in power, they just want to keep being in power. They don't want to have to adjust anything. So I call on everybody who enters the tango space, whether you're a leader or a follower. And what about men who want to follow? We talk all the time about the solution to the problem is, well, more women should lead. Well, I would imagine there are probably a lot of men out there who would love to follow, who can't do it because it's completely outside of the social construct. Or they're like, oh, there aren't any men who are going to lead me. And I've heard people say that. So I would challenge everybody just to go through life with a heck of a lot more empathy as to what other people are going through and bring that forward as a solution and what you can do to make it better for others. If we don't fix it in tango, there's no future for tango.
Well,
and it would deserve to die, frankly.
I do think that's somewhere where you could turn to the QT community, because you are going to find that they are actually dealing with a lot of those issues that you're talking about. Although I honestly can't really, the issue with George Floyd and the way that Black people have been treated in this country, I can't even put, like, to me, then the issues of the Milonga seem silly to put in the light of this horrific thing and the horrific history of this country with slavery and the way that we have treated Blacks. I can't even put in the same level. It makes, to me, the tango seem silly to compare it to this thing that we really do need to work on. But I do understand what you're saying, and I do think that the queer tango community is really dealing with all of these issues in a very, very serious way, talking about it, writing papers about it, and you see like different protocols being enacted in the milongas there.
Yes, I want to, plus one Sarah and Lexa, where, telling people that have felt marginalized, right? Like put a smile on, like I think that's absolutely that's not the solution, right? I think part of the deeper change has to happen with more empathy and more focus on community building and building connections to generations or people that are not like you, and listening for lived experiences that are not like yours. So yeah, if there are ways that where in some instances people have a solution that's like, okay, changing from a practical approach, the tactical approach is like, yeah, well, we need more leaders so that there's more opportunity to dance. Like that feels like a very practical, without victim blaming. Somebody said it was victim blaming. I think we're coming up with real solutions that are not about having women just sort of be happy with what they have, but like, what are some real tactical solutions? Which is, we need more leaders. We need a more balanced dance community. And maybe we need to rethink the idea of the four songs in a tanda, because that feels too high stakes. And this is a very confining dance that makes people very choosy, right? So the nature of the dance and the length of time that you spend with one person makes it very high stakes for these experiences. And that takes out a lot of people. And if you've
that's another thing I want to bring back to education, because I found out something over a year ago, that horrified me. When I was young in this dance, I was taught, if you don't like what's happening in that tanda, you can say thank you and you can leave. And you can also show in your face and your body to other women what is going on. I recently found out from a group of young ladies, they were taught to smile no matter what. And I thought, oh my God, there's this whole lost communication that we ladies have between each other. You're supposed to tell me what's going on with that guy. Yes, and they're just pretending that it's lovely no matter what. So I think we should go back to the old school of schooling, which is show on your face what that man is doing in that 15 minutes.
Can I add something? Can you hear me? I don't hear anything. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, to what Lexa said, I have left you guys in the middle of the floor a few times, in the middle of a tanda. And usually I get a lot of recognition from the people, because as I said, the milonga is a stage, and people who has seen me doing that has come and support me for doing that, because they understood what the situation was. And as Alexa said, I need to make a point for myself, but I'm in a window, so everybody's going to see that it's something I will not take, whatever the situation was. And my decision has been actually not condemned, but supportive for other people that were watching what happened. So your attitude to what you said to the school and to the discipline you have to set an example for that too. But to the point that Yolanda said also, that we need to dance. Yes, definitely. In many times, ladies are there because they want to dance, and I have seen ladies in my milonga sitting and not socializing and not being part of that cultural experience. So I have asked many times, because I'm a host, I feel responsible, I want to make them happy. I have asked some of my friends leaders to invite certain ladies to dance, just to integrate it to the event. And after they get that dance, they feel much loose because they feel alive, and then they start socializing, and and they don't feel that the need of being just there for dancing, but actually absorb all the elements of the event. So yes, sometimes dancing could break the ice, not necessarily has to be eating and talking.
Go ahead, Ilona. Yep.
Just a quick, wanted to add something that I know Sarah was mentioning actually yesterday when we were having our just sort of setup sort of session. When we go to Milonga, all of us, this should pertain to all of us, is that everything in life or just any relationship or anything you want to get, there is an exchange of give and take. You go to Milonga, all of us, I'm talking about myself or anyone else, I think that if we adopt an attitude of what can I give while I'm also probably going to get, so there is a balance between what I can offer to others. It's not just a consumer thing. I'm going to Milonga only to get what feels good to me, only about me. All my dances should be all about me. Sometimes we need to look around to see who is sitting out, to see how people are, feeling. We need to connect, and we talk about empathy, right? But it's also about just having an intention of what can I give? Maybe it's a dancing with someone you haven't danced before. Maybe it's I'm talking, let's say, to men, looking around and saying, you know what, I'm gonna give it a chance, and I'm gonna dance with that woman that maybe I haven't danced, or because she's much older. Like, it's just about stepping outside of our expectation of only filling our need and our desire to get, right? So it's about give and take, and I think that generosity of spirit pays off so much all the time. So I just really want to encourage people to have that intention when they go and dance.
Yeah. And I think, from an organizer perspective or any kind of community leads, coming up with the moment in Milonga that feels like there's a moment of level set, if it's a tanda that shifts, or if there's one thing in the night that invites, to your point, Ilona, that you invite someone that you don't know, or if there's a way of integrating people in a way that feels low stakes for others, because they'll be more apt to do it if it feels like the entry point is pretty easy. Then we should be doing stuff like that.
I think.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I just think this is really important, because what Yolana's saying and what is going on now, that we've seen a very important lesson. There's a lot of incredible selfishness in the tango. And one way it's currently being expressed is that people have been dancing underground all through the pandemic, without masks, without social distance, without any regard to others. And I think if this is the kind of community that we are, how can we possibly expect women to be treated better, anyone to be treated better, if there isn't this kind of care and respect for ourselves and for each other, to protect and take care of each other, and to have a pause as long as as necessary. The pause is one of the integral things of this dance, is the pause. Sorry, but I'll shut up now.
No, I agree. It's really challenging to ask people to do something when it's within their right to decide to choose what they will or won't do. And I think we need to understand that if we asked women to say, well, you need to go and dance with all these people, we would feel like, no, this is my body. Like I feel entitled to have the yes, the full-throated yes or the full-throated no. So it has to be something that I want to do and not coerced into doing. And we have to find that way, because we all desire to have some of our needs be met and do have some level of self-interest. And I think one of the challenges too is that women may come into tango for one reason, and I'm speaking heterosexually, and men may want to come in for another. And those two may not always meet. Those two ideas and ideals may not always meet. And that may be the rub as well. So I'm just kind of like pontificating here around some of the conflict of like intentions of like, you know, I choose tango partners because I think I'm going to have a really good dance. Like that's like 99% of the reason why I would like to dance with somebody. And maybe somebody else, if they were masculine, may have, that might not be 99% for them. So I like, and is that right or wrong? I don't know if we should say, is that right or wrong? Like that just may be. And so how do we allow that without shaming and allow that with still having everybody get most of their needs met most of the time in tango? So go ahead, Yolanda.
So when I was, I want to say younger, I was never younger, but a less experienced dancer, you know, we all go through all of this rejection and all, we've all been there, right? And I remember saying to someone, I don't understand why he won't dance with me, this person that whoever I wanted to dance with, you know. And I was taking it so personally that this person wouldn't dance with me, you know, because I would see who the person was dancing with and they didn't dance very well, right? And whoever the kind person looked at me, the woman looked at me, she said, he's not dancing with you because he has a different agenda. And so all of a sudden I was like, oh, you know, I mean, I was so innocent. I didn't understand that, you know, it's women, I'm going to say, I feel like most women go and we dance because we really want to dance, right? It's not for what's going to happen after the dance. And that's not true of the guys. I'm sorry. It's just not true. And so we can't feel, and when we're talking to young dancers, especially young dancers, because they're going to get bombarded with these males that are there for everything but tango, right? They need to kind of be prepared. I've talked to young women because it was not anything I ever experienced, you know, except a couple of times. But so yeah, we can't be beating ourselves up for somebody else's agenda when our agenda is truly there, you know, to dance. And it just makes for and then after that person told me that, I started to sit and watch the community dance. And my community is no different than anybody else's. You know, they're all people. And I was like, oh yeah, I should not beat myself up about this. This is not about me. This is about them and what they're doing, you know. So it's all part of it. Just is.
Thank you, Yolanda. Norris, you've been quiet for a bit. Do you have any more additional thoughts you'd like to say?
No, it's okay. I have been listening.
Oh.
I have been listening. Sometimes I agree, some others I don't, but I do listen.
Yeah.
And thank you very much to all.
Yeah.
I am the new one.
You're the new kid on the block. Gosh.
I am the new kid on the block. Yes.
You're the youngest. You're the youngest.
The youngest.
So, you know what?
However, the more experienced. That's for sure.
I love that. So this was a really enriching conversation. And you know what, like our world, we don't always like tie things in a bow at the end. It's like, we solved this problem. Next big problem. And we can hold two truths at the same time, which is like, hey, we can simultaneously take personal responsibility for ourselves inside of dance events. And we can also be very conscious of the plight of others. And we can make active steps towards being more inclusive. And I think this whole narrative this year, to Sarah's point, was just like, what kind of tango community are we looking to create right now? Like, we're about to enter, the good news is we're about to enter this potential world of reopening tango events. Many people in the United States are getting vaccinated. That's boding well for smaller tango classes, for the opening up potentially of milongas and maybe the next, I don't know, few months or something. And like, you know, how do we create a new sense of tango that leaves it better than we've find it, because we're all going to be aging inside of Tango. So like, we're like, the experience that we want to have in the next 10 years or 20 years is like, we should be creating that now. And that goes for, women and men and, being more, and then like taking a lot of notes from the queer tango community, because, right now we're talking about a lot of things that the queer tango community has been thinking about for a lot longer than us. And like, let's see how we can really broaden our horizons around how we think about inclusivity and making this a more enjoyable experience. So we've talked a long time. I wanted to have everyone go around and say thank you, if they're offering something right now around Tango or their offerings, please do that. Give your last parting thoughts, and we'll kind of wrap this up. So Sarah, I'll have you go first.
Thank you again for inviting me to be here. I'm not offering anything. I've been blissfully alone for a long time. In the downtime, I've thought a lot about whether I even wanted to return to Tango, and my answer skews about 65% to no. So that's a significant thing to sort out. And I will just say that we've all gone through a collective global trauma with the pandemic. And how can we use that to move forward in a better way? What are the opportunities of it? There was a lot of loss, but what is there that we can gain? And I would just ask everyone to reflect on that and let the pandemic be a lesson that our life experience is not about the individual, but we are all in this together. And so it is with Tango. And how can we use that thought to make it better when we come back to it? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Ilona, please, I'd love to hear parting thoughts and things that you're offering.
I just, first of all, thank you so much, Christina. This is such an important conversation to have, long overdue. I actually, after having this experience, want to say that I'm hopeful, and I'm thinking that I personally, moving forward in whichever way I choose to move forward, I also am with Sarah. I was really thinking, how do I want to return to Tango and to what extent? And I think this pause personally gave me an opportunity to tune in with my body, with my needs, with, not just what I'm putting out towards the community, but also what do I need to do? And I come back to this self-honoring idea of what feels right to you is really important. And this pause has given us wonderful opportunity to reflect. I definitely want to come back to Tango, but only in a way that is honoring to everyone that is around me. I have no interest, none whatsoever, to come back to it in the way that it felt to me before, at least some of the time. I'm not talking about that there have been tremendous highlights. I am incredibly proud and also honored to have experienced. But I really want to see something different, especially for people in general, not just women, but in general, people who felt marginalized in any way, shape, and form. So as an educator, I know I'm making a commitment to my community to do more educating around all of that's involved, and having maybe local conversations, not just milongas, but conversations similar to this with members of the community. So going forward, I think maybe in summer, like in a month or two, I may do something outdoors that I think is really lovely, because when you have beautiful outdoors and it's safer, I think it's lovely and inspiring. So I definitely am looking forward to doing a couple of outdoors events, and also Tango Marathon. My Tango Marathon has been put off until next year, so I don't want to take risks and chances. But if you're in LA anytime, look for Milonga LAX, or you're near LAX or South Bay. I'd love to see you on the dance floor. And Lexa, I can't wait to dance with you. Ladies, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilona. Lexa.
Thank you, Ilona and Sarah. So, okay, I actually do have something to announce. I am teaching Zoom Tango. I have been graciously invited by the Abrazo Queer Tango in San Francisco. I have all these fabulous new queer people that I'm in love with. And as soon as I can, I'm just going to get on a plane to San Francisco so I can really dance with them all. But so I will be teaching the last Sunday of the month, April 25th, I believe it is. And it's Abrazo Queer Tango San Francisco. And you can come from anywhere, and I'll be teaching that. And the other thing I want to say is, I'm always reminded about, tango is a sad thought that we dance. One of the things I love about tango is that all the feelings are there in the music, in the letras. And I feel that this is a place where we can deal with all these really, really difficult feelings that Sarah's talking about and other things, because tango is not about being happy. It's not. But there's happy. Happy is one of the feelings. But all the feelings are there. And one of the things that I'm really looking forward to, that I miss more than holding one person, is dancing in the ronda. I always used to pride myself in my milonga at Ruby Fruit of how beautiful the ronda was, how everyone danced together. And I really miss this, and I look forward to being in a milonga again with a lot of people and couples, and that we're all dancing together, in this way that we move with joy and sorrow and respect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lexa. Yolanda.
Well, I will do what I always do, say thank you, and tell you that I have a 4-bedroom house that is always open to any tango dancer. I'm also born and raised in Los Angeles, by the way, Ilona. And I don't know how I ended up here. And so if you're ever in town, let me know. You got a bed, I'll find you one. If they're all full, we'll find another one. Come dance. I enjoy what I do. I'm going to throw my daughter and her new husband out because they were my COVID positive. They left New York, and now they're living with me until they already got married on March the 13th. But they're going to have so what they're calling it now is they're going to have the sequel wedding, the real wedding, the one we planned at the end of April. And I told them they could stay until then. And then I was throwing them out because then I was going to start having all my tango people back, because they're teaching remotely here at my house. So that's been a really lovely thing to have my daughter with me. I don't think I'll ever have that again. And so it's cool. So come, we have a lovely, interesting tango community here. It's not terribly big, but it's there's a lot of really lovely people and some really nice dancing. So I'm Yolanda Hume on Facebook, so just. And Lexa, I hope you'll take me up. I know Cassie and Sam are talking about going. Did I not see that the Astoria Tango is going to open up again? I think I saw that the Astoria Milonga.
It's a little problematic, but yes.
Yes. So we'll be back. I will dance again in New York sometime. So this has been really lovely and very informative.
Thanks you so much, Yolanda.
Thank you.
Norris, parting thoughts.
Well, thank you very much. I really have learned a lot with you people, and I do enjoy very much the conversation. I didn't know many of you, but I will see you, and I hope that it doesn't matter if I am old. Lexa is going to invite me to dance next time we see each other. I will continue dancing. I would love to dance some more, even though I didn't miss it during the pandemic, because I was dancing in Buenos Aires for 2 months before the pandemic. I just came back to the United States a week before the, the actual quarantine. But I am very happy the way I am being treated in Washington. I love the way people see me and dance with me, and I am never being ignored because of my white hair, and and because being so old and being there to dance, that really takes guts. That's what they think. So I do believe, and I'm very happy seeing you all, and I hope to see you in your places. I'll keep on traveling.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Norris. Love your spirit. And last but not least, Renee.
Yeah, well, I really want to thank you for this opportunity. This has been a fantastic exchange of experience and opinions. And as an organizer, I came back last year to have dinner shows, Sidewalk Fallujah, and I continue this year. And soon we're going to be incorporated dancing as well. I have to see how, but it's something that is on the table. But as an organizer, I feel much closer to the community and to my followers now after this pandemic experience. I'm able to listen better and to feel much closer to them. And I'm hoping that I can still bring all the elements of my culture into the table so they can absorb the whole context. And about Lexa dancing, what a leader. So ladies.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
We're your way there. So yes, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Renee. So I'd love to just take a moment to thank everyone that made brilliant comments inside of this Facebook exchange. I looked at a lot of them. I tried to answer a couple of them and steer them in. But really, really beautiful comments. And I just want to take a moment to thank everyone that listened and all of the panelists, Sarah, Ilona, Lexa, Yolanda, Norris, Renee, for participating with your beautiful perspectives and your lived experiences and your thoughts on the future. In terms of myself, I am, if anybody wants, I'm not teaching tango right now, but maybe who knows, in the next couple months when things get look more optimistic, we'll see about that again. But I am doing coaching work, so I'm working with men as a coach. And if you have any interest in connecting with me and learning more about that around relationship, sexuality, and living a more vibrant masculine life, please let me know how I can serve you. So you can reach out to me through Facebook. And that is it. So thank you, everyone, again. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor.